Hello everyone, xForts here, and welcome to Standoff, the series where we pit two stands up against each other, analyze them, and see who comes out on top. For today's episode, we have the long-awaited and highly requested matchup between Josuke Higashikata and Josuke Higashikata. So although their stands, Crazy Diamond and Soft and Wet, respectively, are completely different from one another, and this is not going to stop us from doing this matchup because, I mean, it's Josuke versus Josuke, what's not to love? So to make things a bit easier in this video, I'm going to be referring to Dwayne Josuke as simply Josuke, and JoJolian Josuke will be going by his nickname Gappy. So to start off this episode, the first stand we'll be analyzing is Josuke's Crazy Diamond. Okay, so we have explained Crazy Diamond multiple times on this channel, so we will just briefly be going over it because I'm sure a lot of you guys are very familiar with how this stand works. If not, there are a few videos in the cards that have a more in-depth explanation of Crazy Diamond's abilities. But first, looking at Crazy Diamond's appearance, and it is such a good representation of Josuke as a person and how he can be incredibly violent and intimidating at times, but he is also such a good person and he has such a big heart, and we have seen how emotional Josuke can get when bad things happen to people that he cares about. So Crazy Diamond is a giant, intimidating humanoid type stand with massive muscles, and he also seems to be wearing battle armor that is made out of diamonds. But the stand also has giant hearts and smaller hearts scattered all over its body, showing Josuke's loving nature. Crazy Diamond is one of my favorite stands from part 4, and it really does have an amazing design in my opinion. Now to the stand's abilities. Crazy Diamond is a very conventional punch and go stand with the unique ability of restoration. So the stand's physical abilities are almost identical to Star Platinum, having super strength, speed, precision, and they almost rival Star Platinum's at times. But Crazy Diamond's signature ability is the ability to fix anything, be it an object or living organism. This ability has very little limitations except for the fact that it cannot bring people back to life unless Crazy Diamond acts immediately, like we saw with Hayato. Josuke also uses this ability at times to improperly restore people or objects, usually when he's pissed off or in a bad mood. As we have seen, Josuke and his stand punch things that are not broken, and that ends up changing their appearance. And it can be also used to fuse objects together, such as in Katagiri's case where he was merged with a rock. So was Katagiri original rock human? So now to move on to the highlight moment. In the last episode of Standoff that Josuke was featured in, I had the highlight moment as him versus Highway Star when he kind of punched the motorcycle and he said "Nouse," and it all came back together. I just thought that was an incredibly badass moment. But for this video, I'm gonna have to go with Crazy Diamond's fight against Killer Queen and Stray Cat. Diamond is Unbreakable is currently airing right now, and we're in the middle of this fight, and it makes me remember how badass it was when I was reading it for the first time. So during this fight, we saw Crazy Diamond have some badass moments and actually work on its own independently from Josuke when it pressurized Josuke's blood and shot it at a air bomb that Kira launched. So that was something new that we saw from the stand, and it was very rare that we saw Crazy Diamond act independently. And just during this entire fight, we saw tons of creative situations that use Crazy Diamond's abilities to the fullest of its potential. So now lastly, for Crazy Diamond's stand stats, we have an A in destructive power, A in speed, D in range, B in durability, B in precision, and C in development potential. Now to move on to a more unfamiliar stand, we have Josuke Higashikata, otherwise known as Gappy's stand, Soft and Wet. So there are two different versions of Soft and Wet. The original one that was the stand of Josufume with the basic ability of absorbing an aspect of an object or person, and Gappy's Soft and Wet, which takes on a new ability as it is a fusion of the stand's Killer Queen and Soft and Wet, but keeps the name Soft and Wet. So to start off with the analysis of Gappy's Soft and Wet, we will first look at the stand's appearance. Soft and Wet is a humanoid type stand with a very mechanical look, almost like it's a machine or robot, not so much as a normal ghostly stand. Since Soft and Wet is a combination of both Kira's Killer Queen and the original Soft and Wet possessed by Josufume, it takes on a brand new ability of plundering. This ability allows the stand to steal something figuratively or literally from an object or person, usually once Gappy's bubble has made contact with the intended target. So this might sound like a simple ability, but it really is one of those it can do almost anything ability, really similar to how Hamon was. So some examples of what Gappy can do with this ability are stealing eyesight. He can also steal the water from a human body. He can steal the sound from a certain space, steal the friction from the ground to make it an extremely slippery surface, almost like ice, if not slipperier. And he can also steal smaller objects in a literal sense by putting them inside his bubbles, and then he can make them shoot out like bullets once his bubbles pop. Soft and Wet also has the very simple ability of enhanced strength. As we have seen, it can punch through solid walls and rock with just a rapid punches, shouting ora ora ora. And it also has another ability that is very reminiscent of Caesar Zeppeli, as he can trap people inside bubbles that are much larger than a normal one. So since JoJoLand is not yet finished and we have no idea where we are yet in the story, we have yet to see all of Soft and Wet's abilities and what its limitations are. It is a common trend in JoJo for main characters' stands to gain a new technique or even an entirely new ability by the end of the part. And I could definitely see something like this happening with Soft and Wet, as we've already seen the stand go through a change in its abilities. But from what we know right now, it seems that Gappy cannot use his own ability on himself, and the exact quantity of things he can steal as well as how long he can keep them is unclear, but the stand seems to be very limitless at this point. So for Gappy and his stand's highlight moment at this point in JoJoLand, I have to say it was his fight with the Aphex brothers. During this battle, Gappy was confidently able to hold his own against two rock humans with very deadly stands at the same time, and he did it very quick as well, as the actual fight only lasted for around one chapter. Although at the end, Carrera did come to help out Josuke at the last second to finish them off. But I'm sure at a later point in JoJoLand, we will see much greater things from Gappy and his stand, and I seriously cannot wait for those moments. Soft and Wet stand stats are a C in destructive power, B in speed, D in range, B in durability, C in precision, and A in development potential. So now this is the part where we would compare the two stands and decide which is superior, but since these two stands are completely different, it's clear that they each surpass each other in different situations. So let's just focus on which stand is greater for combat, because I mean that's really what stands are mostly used for in the series anyways. It's no surprise that Crazy Diamond hits like a truck and easily surpasses Soft and Wet when it comes to brute strength, but the outcome of this matchup lies within their abilities, plundering versus restoration. As we have seen in part 4, Josuke rarely uses his restoration ability to inflict physical damage during his fights, but rather uses it to get himself out of dangerous situations or to gain an upper hand on an opponent, and leaves the rest to Crazy Diamond's fists. When Gappy, on the other hand, is always using his ability in a creative way for utility as well as combat, rather than having the mindset of Josuke, as he will say things like, "I won't need my healing ability to beat your ass." Gappy is always using his stand's physical abilities and his plundering abilities in tandem to make a perfect harmony of auras while fighting. If you go back and look at Josuke's fights in part 8, he's pretty much always using his plundering ability while using his physical strength to damage opponents. He is never just punching with Soft and Wet, there are always bubbles in the area affecting his opponents in some way, whether it be him using his bubbles to negate or steal the enemy's stand ability away, or to increase the effectiveness of his physical attacks. So what Soft and Wet lacks in physical capabilities, he makes up for with creativity. And because Gappy uses his stand in this way and his abilities in harmony, I have to say that Gappy with Soft and Wet are superior than Josuke with Crazy Diamond. And just the nature of Soft and Wet's ability of being able to steal something from an opponent and all the other creative uses we've seen from it, it really is a stand that seems to have limitless capabilities, as long as the user is creative enough to utilize these abilities, and Gappy really has shown that he is a worthy stand user for Soft and Wet.
Soft and Wet. 今お前から摩擦を奪った。
And that was today's episode of Standoff between Josuke Higashikata and Josuke Higashikata. And the winner is Josuke Higashikata. Thank you guys for checking out this episode of Standoff. The playlist for Standoff is down below in the description where you guys can check out every single episode. Be sure to like this video if I fought your boredom, and also subscribe for more videos. And remember guys, I'm always taking requests for future episodes of Standoff, so leave your recommendations and matchups down below in the comments. Thank you guys for watching this video, and I hope you enjoyed.
As we dance in the night, remember how the stars of the night away.